There's a reason archaeologists still get goosebumps when they dig into old northern settlements. Because every so often they hit something that just shouldn't exist. Homes built over 1,000 years ago that still know how to stay warm without electricity, insulation foam, or any of the modern gadgets we treat like life support. And here's the twist that'll grab you by the collar. These ancient Scandinavian builders were doing it long before engineers slapped the term thermal mass into textbooks. The Vikings weren't just warriors. They were architects of warmth, creators of some of the most energy-efficient shelters the world has ever seen. And their secret? It didn't just survive. It refuses to die. Welcome back to History's Survival Code, where the past isn't a museum. It's a manual. And today, we're digging into a warmth system so powerful that even modern off-grid preppers are scrambling to bring it back. The Viking home wasn't the smoky wooden shack most people imagine. Not even close. These people lived in landscapes that tried to kill them 9 months a year. Frozen wind, minimal sunlight, scarce firewood. If your shelter wasted heat, you weren't uncomfortable, you were dead. So the Vikings didn't build for show, they built for survival. They built with the land itself. The first part of their secret was shockingly simple. They used the earth the same way modern architects use premium insulation. Viking builders carved their longhouses partly into slopes or packed the walls with thick layers of soil and turf. These walls weren't pretty. They weren't polished, but they worked beautifully. Soil, grass, and compact roots created a dense, layered barrier that stopped icy winds in their tracks. Even better, that dense mass behaved like a heat battery, absorbing warmth during the day and releasing it slowly through the night. Long before engineers gave it a name, the Vikings had mastered one of the smartest heating strategies on Earth. Inside, at the heart of every home, burned a central hearth. It was more than fire. It was a quiet engine. Every hour it burned, it pumped heat into the packed dirt floors and those thick earthen walls. And those floors didn't just hold warmth, they radiated it back, long after the last flame died. You could go to sleep with the fire out and wake up in a space that still felt alive with warmth. No drafts, no damp chill seeping through cracks, just steady, reliable heat. Some researchers who've reconstructed these ancient homes found temperatures sitting between 15 and 18 degrees Celsius even in brutal northern winters. That's not survival, that's comfort. But here's where the Viking genius flexes even harder. They understood airflow like seasoned engineers. Smoke had to escape. Oxygen had to enter. And heat? Heat had to stay low, right where people slept, cooked, and worked. So they added small vents above the hearth for smoke, and they built layouts that encouraged hot air to circle close to the ground. The result was a natural ventilation system so efficient that modern designers still study it. No electricity, no ducts, just instinct, experience, and centuries of trial and error. For hundreds of years, this design kept families alive through storms strong enough to snap trees and darkness that lasted months. So why did such a brilliant system vanish? The answer is pure human ego. As kingdoms expanded and religion reshaped culture, people wanted their homes to look elite. Earth-sheltered houses became symbols of poverty and old beliefs. Builders began chasing appearances instead of performance. Timber halls and stone manors became the new fashion, even though they leaked heat like riddled buckets. Manuals stopped mentioning earth building. The method faded into the background. Not because it failed, but because it wasn't considered stylish anymore. So, how do you take Viking wisdom and, bring it into modern prepping? Well, you start with the landscape. The earth is still the best insulator most people ignore. Building into a slope or covering exterior walls with soil gives a home natural temperature control. And you don't need turf blocks. Rammed earth, cob, or compressed earth bricks have the same thermal mass. They absorb heat slowly and release it just as slowly, smoothing out temperature swings better than most factory-made materials. Then comes layering. Vikings didn't rely on a single material, and honestly, neither should you. A thin layer of natural insulation, straw bales, hemp panels, or wood fiber mats, creates the same multi-layered effect their turf blocks provided. Soft interior insulation for comfort, dense exterior mass for stability. Together they create a living wall that breathes but never freezes. Finally, you need a heat source that works with the earth, not against it. Today, the rocket mass heater is the closest thing to that ancient hearth. It burns tiny amounts of wood with unbelievable efficiency and channels the heat through earthen benches or walls before releasing it. The result? A structure that stays warm for hours after the fire dies. Add low vents for oxygen and higher vents for exhaust, and you've recreated a heating system that kept entire communities alive long before electricity existed. And this isn't primitive nostalgia. It's survival in its purest form. A home that fights the cold without power. A heating system that barely needs fuel. A structure that lasts generations, because Earth doesn't rot, warp, or become outdated. We talk so much about modern prepping gear, but sometimes the smartest move isn't buying new tech. It's reviving old genius. The Vikings didn't conquer their climate. They cooperated with it. They turned the soil beneath their feet into armor. And if you're serious about off-grid living or real long-term resilience, their warmth secret is more than a piece of history. It's a blueprint. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure you subscribe to History's Survival Code and share it with someone who loves uncovering lost survival systems. The past still has answers, and we're here to bring them back.